Okay, in this video we are going to be talking all about lead tape. How to use it and where do you put it on your golf club. Let's go. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm AJ, I hope you're having a wonderful day. So this video we are going to be talking about specifically where to put lead tape on a golf club. So we're going to cover, basically this is going to be 4 parts in this video. We're going to be talking specifically about lead tape with irons, lead tape with woods or drivers specifically, lead tape with putters, and then stay tuned till the end of the video because I'm going to give you a couple extra tips, a couple extra ideas that you've maybe never thought of before for other ways that you can actually use this lead tape on your golf club. Okay, so first off, what is lead tape? If you haven't seen it before, if you haven't worked with it before, very simply, it is just really tape with lead metal on one side of it and an adhesive back on the other. And you can basically just take this, you can cut it with scissors or a little X-Acto knife to whatever size you want. You can trim it around if you're trying to fit it into a certain shape, and you just stick it on your golf club in order to raise the weight, add more weight to the head, increase the swing weight, theoretically give you more feel for where the head is in the golf swing. Now, you can, in some cases, also influence ball flight with it, and we'll come back to that. But the primary goal, the primary objective when you're using lead tape is you're adding weight. Now, in some cases, you may find it may not be in tape form. You may find it in little sort of measured, pre-cut little squares, little rectangles that maybe weigh 2 or 4 grams each. It's going to be the same basic idea. It's just in a simpler, pre-measured form. Okay, now let me just say this because I think some people think of lead tape and they think of, oh, that seems like a bandaid fix. I mean, it's literally adhesive that you're sticking on your golf club, so I get that. But if you go and look at professional golfers' bags and you look at their setup, what you're going to find is there are a lot of professional golfers who use lead tape, and they use it on everything. It's on irons, wedges, woods, drivers, putters, all through the bag. Some golfers, some professional golfers use it a lot. Some golfers maybe use it a little. Some use it not at all. But it is definitely part of golf. It's been part of golf for a long time, and a lot of the best golfers in the world utilize lead tape to get the exact feel that they're looking for. Okay, first up, we're going to be talking about irons. I've got here a little Titleist cavity back iron. So say you wanted to add some weight to this iron. You wanted to get the swing weight up a little bit. Where do you want to put that weight? Because you may be worried, well, if I put it too far to one side or the other side or high or low or different places, it's going to change the characteristics of how the ball flies. I'm going to mess something up. So the first thing obviously to be aware of is this lead tape is not permanent. That's one of the reasons I love it. It's easy to put on, but it's just as easy to peel it right back off again. So if you put it on and you don't like the results, you can just peel it off again. It's also extremely inexpensive, another reason I really like it. But where on an iron head should you put it? Well, let me just simplify this as much as possible. When it comes to an iron head, it really doesn't matter where you put it. And quite frankly, where I would recommend putting it on any iron is just right here, smack dab in the middle somewhere. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is you don't really have a lot of real estate to work with when it comes to an iron. You're talking about something that's about 2.5 inches long and a little over an inch high. Depending on the shape of the cavity back, you may or may not have certain areas that you can't really put lead tape on it. You can't put it on the sole because it's just going to get ripped off when you're hitting golf balls and taking divots. You can't put it on the face, obviously, because that's going against the rules of golf. The only place really that you can put it is somewhere on the back here. And again, pretty small amount of real estate to pick from. So let me just show you real quick, little demonstration to show you how much it really matters whether you put it one place or somewhere else. So I've got this 5-iron head, and I've got just this built up piece of layers of lead tape that weighs 6 grams, okay? So this would basically give us about 3 swing weight points change. Now let me just show you. First we're gonna I've got a little piece of tape here, and I'm just gonna show you basically where the center of gravity is on this golf club, where the center of mass is, where the balance point is on this golf club. I'm just going to take a pencil, put it on the table like this, and then just sort of balance the golf club head on top of it until I find the spot where it basically wants to kind of rest and not tip one way or the other too much. Kind of right there. Okay. So I'm just going to spin it a little bit, turn it over, and put a little mark, well, it's a sloppy mark, but as you can see right there, that's basically the balance point, and that's usually what you're going to find in a lot of golf clubs. So that's pretty close to the center of this golf club. Okay. So what happens if we take this extra weight and we put it, let's put it as far over as we can, kind of wedged into the corner here of this head. Okay, this weight is now obviously out towards the toe side of the club. What is that going to do to that center of gravity? We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to balance the club. Let's turn it over. And as you can see, it's right. Try to make a slightly different mark on it, but it's right there. It maybe moved, what would we call that? A 1/16 of an inch, something like that. The height isn't really representative, but it maybe moved very, very slightly out towards the toe because of this weight. So let's take this weight now and really go all the way to the extreme. This is clearly, you wouldn't actually ever do this, and it would be non-conforming because it's now wrapping around to the face of the club. But we're going to go this is ridiculous, but just to show you what you'd get if we put the weight all the way out like that. We'll call it right about there. Flip it over, and again, if you can see that, look, the difference, and I'm trying to put that mark so you can see it, but all three of these marks are within, again, a tiny, tiny area. So there, 6 grams of weight that we moved around on this head and basically had next to no impact on where that CG ended up being. It all stayed within a 1/16 of an inch. Again, not a lot of real estate back here to move that around. And when we're talking about our irons, we've got head weights that are, if we're talking about a 5 iron, that's about, say 255, 260 grams, something like that. And so adding just 6 grams of weight to that, you're not adding that much weight. The percentage change is pretty small. So between not having much room to move things around and not moving or not increasing the percentage of weight by that much, you're just not going to see much of a difference. So when it comes to putting lead tape on iron heads, just put it on the middle, right across it, wherever it'll fit nice and not be in the way and not be an eyesore when you're looking down on it. That's going to be fine. It's going to do the job. Don't worry about influencing ball flight. Just worry about the weight when it comes to the irons. Now, when it comes to woods, specifically drivers, well, now we can actually start to think about influencing ball flight because, again, with the iron, heavier head weight and not a lot of real estate, well, with a driver, it's a different story. We've got a much lighter head, talking about 200 grams or less in general. So the percentage change of adding that same, say, 6 grams of weight is going to be more influential. And you got a lot of real estate here, right? You got all the sole, you got all the perimeter here, basically everywhere but the face you can put lead tape, and it's on a much bigger area overall. So putting weight way up here versus way down here on the heel, we're talking, 4.5 inches of space between those versus the iron where we're talking maybe 1.5 inches if you put it on the toe versus the heel side. So let me show you here. We go through the exact same thing we just did. I'm going to measure it, basically try and find that center without any tape, and then we'll go ahead and put all that tape as far out on the toe as we can, see what we get, see what kind of movement we get there. Again, we're just going to kind of balance it on here until we find the spot where it just wants to come closest to not wanting to fall consistently one direction or the other. And right about there. Let's see what we get. All right, so there it is right there. Let's put a little, that's where it was right there. We'll put a little X this time. Okay, so right there at the center of that X, that's where we start. Now we're going to take this lead tape again, and we're going to put it as far as we can possibly get it out on the toe. We'll put it way, this lead tape is starting to lose its stickiness because I've been using it repeatedly. Let's see if we can get it to at least kind of adhere on here. Press it down a little bit. Is that going to stay? Okay, good. All right, same thing. Right about there, I'd say. Let's see what we get. And hopefully you can see that. There's the dot. See the end of my pencil here. And there's the X. So between that, put a little notch right there. So there you go. This was our starting point, and this is what happened when we moved that 6 grams of extra weight out to the toe. I would say that is maybe not quite a quarter of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch, something like that, that we have moved the weight out towards the toe. Again, 6 grams. So there you go. Same 6 grams of lead tape that we used in the iron. We put it on the driver, starting out with no lead tape and then putting the lead tape way out here on the toe. And you can see we got about 3/16 of an inch movement. Compare that with the iron head that we maybe got 1/16 of an inch difference. So whereas in the iron really didn't make any difference because of the weight of this head, because of the amount of area that we've got to work with, you can actually at least discern a difference between not having the tape and putting the tape on there. And I also went ahead and just checked it, not only going in the heel side versus, the toe side versus the heel side, but also, well, what happens if we move and put the lead tape way back here on the very back end? And you can see here, this line or this little X that's closer to the face is what we had starting with no lead tape. And when we put the lead tape back here, we moved it back a little bit. That's, in theory, going to give you a more stable club head. That's going to increase the MOI. The head is not going to want to move around as much when we move more weight towards the back. Okay, next up, putters. I'm going to keep it pretty simple for this. Obviously, when it comes to putters, there's a lot of different shapes and a lot of different styles. So in theory, the real estate portion of what we've been talking about can be all over the map, right? You can have a giant putter where you can put lead tape in all sorts of places. You can have a very small putter like this where your options are going to be somewhat limited. Again, the other side or the other factor is that head weight. And when we're talking about putters, these are going to be the heaviest heads in your bag. So drivers at 200 grams, irons at 240 to 290 grams. Putters are usually going to be around 350 grams. So significantly heavier, meaning that it's going to take a lot more lead tape to really have any sort of influence on what that putter is doing. So again, just like with irons where I say just put the lead tape in the middle because it's really not going to affect anything other than the weight enough to worry about, I'm going to go ahead and basically say the same thing with putters. And because it's a putter, you don't really need to be influencing those sorts of things the way you would maybe with a driver. So when it comes to putters, you've really got two main options. You've got putting it, again, behind the face in that sort of cavity or on that flat area back here. And then you've also got the option of putting it on the sole. Now, again, like we talked about, you can put it on the sole of your driver, of your fairway woods, although in general, you're going to want to move it back away from the face for the main reason just being that if you're hitting at least a fairway wood and you're taking any sort of divot or brushing the turf, that lead tape will start to peel off if you're continually hitting the ground. With a putter, you're barely brushing the ground. You're not swinging it very hard. So you will find with professionals, with a lot of people using lead tape that they will just put the lead tape right on the sole of the club so that, one, you don't see it when you're putting with it, and two, it's not going to get pulled off from just hitting putts. Okay, finally, just a few extra options for where you can put lead tape that you've maybe not thought of doing it before. The first one comes a la Phil Mickelson, because if you go online, you can find pictures where Phil Mickelson was loading up lead tape on his putter around the hosel. Basically just wrapping layers and layers of it on the hosel and then either leaving it for a while and then removing it. So you can find his putters in various states of sort of peculiar looking lead tape jobs because he was putting it on and taking it off. But he was obviously wanting to add a lot of head weight, and so just took the lead tape, wrapped it, spiraled it around the hosel of his putter, and went along with that. Again, not the most attractive, but obviously did the job. Obviously he liked the results enough to use it, even though it looked kind of strange. Secondly, if you ever have wondered about what a different weight iron shaft or wood shaft might feel like in your game, well, you can use lead tape once again, because you can take lead tape and basically take long strips of it and just run it down the back of your shaft. You can do this graphite shafts, you can do this for steel shafts, you can do it for irons, you can do it for woods. But you can get lead tape, again, just getting enough length of it, sort of starting about an inch below the grip, running it down, and change the weight of that shaft by, say, 10 grams at a time, and you can figure out, maybe a slightly heavier golf shaft might work for me. Okay, finally, one last option. You can counterweight your golf clubs. So it's as simple as just taking your lead tape, spiraling it around the top of the shaft, then just putting on your grip tape, put your grip on. Yes, it's going to make it slightly thicker, so be aware of that, but you can add a good amount of weight and sort of try out counterbalancing. Again, I've done this mainly with putters that I've had sort of mixed results with, but you could do it with any club. So again, it's very inexpensive, it's easily removable, and it's readily available. So it's one of my favorite tools just to sort of play around with different weighting aspects of a golf club. Again, it's cheap, it's easy, it's removable, so no big loss if you don't end up liking it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, please go down below, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you'll be alerted when I post new videos. You can find me on Instagram at mobileclubmaker, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.